There are two things we will understand in this video. First, the difference between fractions and rational numbers. Second, we will see if all integers are rational numbers. So let's make two columns, one of fractions and the other of rational numbers. We just need to understand this square to understand what fractions are. It is a square divided into 4 equal parts. Let's color one part. How do we represent this in a numerical form? We say that 1 out of 4 parts is colored. This is a fraction. What if 2 parts are colored? Simple. You say that 2 out of 4 parts are colored. And if 3 are colored, we say that 3 out of 4 parts are colored. All these numbers you see here are fractions. They are a part of the whole. A fraction is of the form p by q, where p and q are natural numbers and p is less than q. P and q can only be natural numbers, and the numerator has to be less than the denominator. And rational numbers are numbers of the form p by q, where p and q can be integers and q is not equal to 0. Look at a number like minus 3 by 4. The numerator as well as the denominator are integers, and the denominator is not 0. So this is a rational number, but not a proper fraction as the numerator is not a natural number. But these three numbers are rational numbers. They are of the form p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equal to 0. So what does all this tell us? Simple. This tells us that all fractions are rational numbers, but a rational number may or may not be a fraction. This is a very important thing we need to understand about fractions and rational numbers. What about integers? Are they rational numbers? Consider the integer 6. This is not in the form p by q. Does that mean that 6 is not a rational number? It can be written as 6 by 1. This is in the form of p by q, where p and q are both integers and q is not equal to 0. So 6 is a rational number. What about minus 12? Yes, even this can be written as minus 12 by 1. Both integers and denominator not equal to 0. That makes minus 12 as rational number. What about 0? Yes, even 0 can be written as 0 by 1. This also equals 0. Actually, 0 can be written as 0 by 2 or 0 by minus 7 or 0 by anything except 0. And that's why 0 is also a rational number. So natural numbers, whole numbers, integers and fractions are all rational numbers too. How do we define a rational number? It is a number of the form p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equal to 0. In this video, we will talk about the signs of the numerator and the denominator. Consider 2 by 7. This is a rational number. Let's make 3 columns of p, q and the result. We will think of different combinations of the signs of the numerator and the denominator and then see the sign of the final result. In this case, the numerator as well as the denominator is positive. So we can say this rational number is positive. We say that 2 by 7 is a positive rational number. Let's think of another number. Say minus 2 by minus 7. Here, p as well as q are negative. Does that mean this is negative? Let's write it down on a scratch paper. Minus 2 by minus 7. Let's multiply the numerator as well as the denominator by minus 1. This means that we are just multiplying it by 1. Minus 2 times minus 1 gives us 2 and minus 7 times minus 1 gives us 7. This means that this rational number is equivalent to this one and it is positive. Here's your third rational number, minus 2 by 7. Here, the numerator is negative and the denominator is positive. So this negative sign will remain, which is why it is a negative rational number. Here, we got rid of the negative sign as both the numerator as well as the denominator had it. What if the rational number is like 2 by minus 7? P is positive and Q is negative. This rational number as well is negative as the minus sign remains. The fourth rational number is actually the same as this rational number. 2 by minus 7 is our rational number. Let's multiply the numerator and the denominator by minus 1. In the numerator, we get a minus 2, and in the denominator, a product of two negative numbers gives us a positive number. We get the third rational number, which is also negative. Remember, if any one of the numerator or the denominator is negative, the rational number is negative. If both are positive or both are negative, then the rational number is positive. Look at the rational number 4 by 8. Is this the only way in which this rational number can be written? No, if we divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, it will be equal to 2 by 4. Remember, these two rational numbers are equivalent. If we again divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, we can write it as 1 by 2. So the original rational number was reduced to 1 by 2, which cannot be reduced further. This is called the standard form of a rational number. This 1 and 2 are the lowest possible integers for this fraction. The standard form of a rational number is defined as P by Q, where P and Q are the lowest possible integers, and Q is always positive. The original fraction was 4 by 8. How do we reduce it to its standard form? We can divide the numerator and the denominator by 4 and get the answer as 1 by 2. But what is this 4? How do we find it? 4 is the highest common factor of 4 and 8. That is, the HCF of the numerator and the denominator. So whenever you want to reduce a rational number to its standard form, all you need to do is divide its numerator and denominator by the HCF of the numerator and the denominator. Number 12 by 18. How do we reduce it to its standard form? Yes, as we saw in the previous video, all we need to do is divide the numerator and the denominator by the HCF. So we need to find the HCF of 12 and 18 here. One way in which we can find the HCF is by using continuous division. This is how the process would look. We divided 18 by 12 and got the remainder as 6. Since the remainder is not 0, the remainder becomes the new divisor and the previous divisor becomes the new dividend. And dividing 12 by 6, we get the remainder as 0. So we stop here and the last divisor, which is 6, is our HCF. The HCF of 12 and 18 is 6. To reduce this to the standard form, all we need to do is divide the numerator and the denominator by 6. So the numerator becomes 12 by 6 and the denominator becomes 18 by 6. 12 by 6 is 2 and 18 by 6 is 3. This is the standard form of 12 by 18. How do we reduce 16 by minus 48 to its standard form? Remember, the standard form cannot have a negative denominator. So the first thing we do is write the rational number as minus 16 by 48. It's the same thing. They are equivalent rational numbers. What do we do when we have a negative number? How do we find the HCF? It's simple. We just ignore the negative sign and find the HCF of 16 and 48. Since 48 is a multiple of 16, we can say that the HCF is 16, the lower of the two. Dividing the numerator by 16, we write it as minus 16 by 16. And dividing the denominator by 16, we write it as 48 by 16. Minus 16 by 16 gives us minus 1 in the numerator, and 48 by 16 gives us 3 in the denominator. This is the standard form. So 16 by minus 48 can be written as minus 1 by 3 in standard form.